This is the Jethro Tull machine, invented in 1701. It was invented by Jethro Tull because he just hated the slowness of traditional sewing and tilling. Most of the Tull machines were horse-drawn, but some were a push-or-pull system. It made farming more efficient, faster, and helped grow more crops in a smaller area of land. Jethro Tull later developed the horse-drawn hoe. All of the common preservatives there are in most foods. GE and GMO helped the plant grow faster and larger and produce more fruits or vegetables. All of this crop talk led into the Enclosure Acts, which took place in 1750 and 1860. The Enclosure Acts were a series of parliamentary acts passed between the same 1750 and 1860. Because of these acts, many farmers were forced to give up their land to wealthy landowners. The acts also caused open fields where most crops were grown, and wastes, marshes, rocky lands, or moors, closed to use by peasants. The Enclosure Acts led into industrial Britain in the 1760s. In the industrial Britain, the population doubled in size from 7.1 million to 14.2 million people. Britain built factories and canals and experienced rapid urban growth. This manufactured and patented new industrial techniques. All this industry basically led to the discovery of coal. After the 1800s, towns started using coal-powered gas lamps. Coal was producing 6% of the national income. Because of coal basically paving the way for iron rails, they were invented in 1779. This led to the first all-iron bridge being built. The Combination Acts was an act that prohibited workers from unionizing and rebelling for better working conditions and wages. The Factory Acts was passed in 1833. It was passed to improve working conditions for children in 1833. No child under 9 was able to work. This birthed the Reform Acts. In 1832, it gave more rights to the lower class. In 1867, it included just shy of 1 million working people that had the right to vote. In 1918, the Reform Acts gave the right to vote to all women over 30 and all men over 21. It was the first act that granted women's right to vote. In 1847, railroads were born. It allowed access to both middle and upper classmen. They established the Greenwich Mean Time in 1847. People compared it to watching a movie on a TV screen like watching time go by. The steam engine helped provide more goods and supplies faster. The Greenwich Mean Time came about because people who lived in, say, Britain were going to somewhere else, and they realized that there was a time difference. So, and they established a kind of a happy medium between their times. And this is how the first localized time came about. Because of how fast goods and supplies were coming, this produced the Great Stink, which was around 1858. The Great Stink was a buildup of all the waste in the River Thames. In 1858, a heat wave struck and the sewage was beginning to ferment in the heat. It caused a horrible smell and diseases. No one really noticed that they were disposing the waste into the water supply. Next up is the Education Act of 1880. This required you to go to school up to age 10. Handloom weavers were going out of style by the time the 1900s came around. Their jobs were basically ruined by textile factories. The more textile factories came about, the less handloom weaving was in, I guess. Before 1750, wool was the main fabric. In 1721, the UK passed a law to ban printed fabrics because it was an export of India and France, and English cotton mills could not make it. The Education Act came about again in 1918 and again in 1914 or 44. In 1918, the mandatory schooling age no.